At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jah, and of course, we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to be debating the following issues. Councillor Tiawanse Gongloe has picked his running mate. What does he bring to the table? And what does he add to the winnability of the LPP ticket? We're going to be looking into that. The drugs pandemic in Liberia is getting to an alarming rate, and the House passes a bill making drug laws little stiffer. Also, there is an alleged fraud at the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law at the University of Liberia. With me to discuss all this, I have the unapologetic sedition, Mr. Jerome Gilman. Mr. Gilman, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gilman is also the host of On Point that comes to you every Sunday right here on Focus on Liberia. Let me also welcome a supporter of Mr. Tiawanse, Councillor Gongloe, Mr. Amula Mame. Mr. Mame, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here again.
Let me also welcome a Cummins or CPP ANC supporter, Mr. Anthony Gay. Man, he was running. I want to always mention that. He was running to be senator in Grand Jide, but he banned Finn out of the situation. Mr. Gay, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Let me welcome the only lady with us tonight. That's Alice Welle Momba. Mrs. Momba is an independent. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always good to be here.
We are expecting a Joseph Newman Boaka supporter, Mr. P. Maurice Kuroma. He's going to be joining us any moment from now. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Friday Night Debate, and let's get into the issue. Just sometime after we've been calling on Tiawanse Gongloe to appoint this to find running mate. So Dr. Clarence Moniba selected Mrs. Grace Pan, the former superintendent of Montserrat County, as his running mate. Now come Councillor Gongloe with Emmanuel Yuri Yakpawuro as his running mate. Mr. Yakpawuro is young and a doctorate degree holder, and he is the running mate of Mr. Councillor Gongloe. Before we delve into that, let me welcome JMB supporter, perfect manager Maurice Kuroma. Mr. Kuroma, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
Right. Again, we want to welcome all our viewers. If you have not already done so, please share the show. Invite someone, at least one person, and let's debate. Councillor Gongloe has picked his running mate. Let me start with the Gongloe supporter here to tell us exactly who is Dr. Yure Yakpawolo and what does he bring to the Gongloe, to the LPP ticket to win the elections come 2023 October.
Thank you, Dennis. Let me start like this. Up to 2011, 25% of Liberian land space was under concession to rubber companies, palm companies, and several other concessional arrangements with the government. 25%. The number was increasing because the government's strategy to create jobs and raise revenue is through concession model. Every international partner, the number was increasing from 25, but every international partner in Liberia highlighted that the next crisis hanging over Liberia was land crisis. It was a time bomb ready to explode. It took few men and women to lay the foundation for land reform in Liberia. Dr. Yure Yakpawolo. And you ask, who is he? Dr. Yure Yakpawolo is one of the foundational pillars for land reform in Liberia. He committed his education, he committed his life, he committed his research, he committed his resources to laying the foundation for land reform in Liberia to prevent a looming calamity of land crisis. He did not stop there. It was not only to protect the land and prevent land crisis, but also to do something strange for which he will be appreciated, was to restore and give women right to land in Liberia. So when you ask the question, who is Yuri? Or in the indigenous communities in our country, his effort did not stop there, but it led to the government recognizing the indigenous and customary right to land. Something that did not happen since 1847. So when you ask who is Yuri Yakpawolo, I want to describe him in the way that the women in the villages describe him. How our indigenous people across Liberia describe him. They describe him as the land right man. So Yure is the land right man. To answer your question, he committed his life, he committed his education, he committed his research, he committed his resources to working with others like Ali Kabar and several other young people to prevent a looming calamity of land crisis in our country, to prevent and restrain government from taking indigenous land and giving it to concession companies, to protect the right of women to land in Liberia, something that has never happened before, to recognize the customary right to land. Yure is the land man. He worked with order to protect the dignity of our indigenous people to their land, to protect their rights. He went beyond to begin to teach and train them on how to protect and negotiate on land issues to ensure they acquire the best benefit for their land resources. There is a documentary we'll go into more. It's called The Land Beneath Our Feet, conducted by Yure to shed light on the challenges our people face with protecting their land and how to address those challenges.
Thank you.
Also, another name that I want you to know about, besides being the land man, because everybody in the village, this is the land rebel. Yure is the land rebel. He shed light on something. All the young people across the country who left from their parents and went to live with their uncles just to be able to go to school, to live with their aunties, live from the villages and come to urban area, peri-urban areas, to only live with their parents, brother, uncle to go to school. You will have shed light on that portion of our people. That is his story. He left his parents and moved to his uncle to be able to go to school. The thousands and hundreds of thousands of children in Liberia who leaving their parents and going to nephews and uncles and family members to go to school. You will share light on them and give them hope that you can reach the highest height regardless of where you come from.
Thank you. Thank you. I too, I left Dulverton to live with my sister and go to school, so I can relate. Mr. Kroman, one of the questions people I keep getting when they hear the name Emmanuel Yure Yapawore is, who is he? We don't know him. In your every people pick the running mates for a reason. In your belief, what does Dr. Yapawore add to the Gongloe ticket? And how does that match up with other tickets?
Thank you again, Dennis, for the opportunity. I think Emmanuel Yure is someone that I know. I've interacted with him in the past. So, I want to be very upfront. I think he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He has worked, professionally to develop himself to, the level that he's at. As far as his popularity across the country, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't know how many people know Yure. Well, I call him Emmanuel Yure, so I need to go get used to the Yakpa Wolo name, but that's the name that I know him for all the time that we've interacted. And maybe he earned that name through, living with people that raised him. But, I don't know how much popularity he has across the country.
Is that needed for a vice president?
Yeah, I don't know if he actually earned that, but I mean, if that's what the LPP people believe that he can, get them over the hump, then it's that's not my calling. But because it's been trending on social media, a lot of people have been asking who is this Yuri. The fact that everybody asking raises the question about his popularity in the country. Um, I know he has been doing a lot of work in Bond County. I know that. I know he's done some, education with, community people, local people in the interior. I know he has done some of that. But whether that can catapult him into the position of a running mate that can deliver significant portion of, Bond County, it's a whole different debate. When we look at the other candidates that have been chosen by other political parties, the truth is that you have to be able to win election before you can govern, right? And so, as much as some people had issues with, George Weah choosing Joel Howard Taylor or Ambassador Boyka choosing Jeremiah Kuhn, the ultimate goal is to ensure that you win the election. There are over 1 million votes that are spread across the country. To be able to win that kind of vote, you have to have national figures. Somebody that when you call a name in Grand Jide, somebody know them. We go to Nima County, the person know them. You come to Monserrado, somebody, you go to Magibi, Grand Basso. Once you mention the name, somebody should know, okay, I've heard it. I don't know the person, but I've heard the name before. Their name should be a household name. And I don't think I can say that for Emmanuel Yure. I'm sorry, but he's my friend. Like I said, I don't think, that name can ring a bell across the country. So that I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Mrs. Mamba, what first of all, we heard Councillor Gongloe was looking for a female candidate. And when I saw Yuri, I said, he doesn't look like female. So is that a problem? The second thing is people choose their vice presidential running mate for a lot of reasons. What benefit or what does Europe bring that's going to add to this ticket to make them to win in your view?
Well, thank you, Dennis. I think Councilor Gongloe did not make any mistake. It's not a problem choosing Dr. Yakpawulo to be his running mate. First and foremost, before you work with somebody, that person should compliment you. And I think Councilor Gongloe is a man of integrity. He believes in hard work. All right. So he devoted his time to education. He did not go back door. And so he wanted to find somebody who could at least compliment him in some way. What does he bring to the table? Dr. Yapaguro, I think he brings a lot to the table. He has a story that resonates with a lot of young people, even me sitting over here, that you had to leave your mother and father and your family to go elsewhere, maybe sometimes not even your relative, to stay with people you don't know from anywhere, just to learn something. So that story, that a lot of people that share the story. When Obama started running, how many people knew him? People didn't even know his name, but his story, he has a powerful story that resonated with a lot of people. And if there's nothing Yakpawulo brings to the table, but that story will resonate with a lot of Liberians. How many Liberians went to school staying with their parents, having everything? Just maybe a handful. But a lot of us will leave from the villages and go to the cities or go to other towns or walk 1 hour to go elsewhere to go and learn something. Who cannot relate that kind of story? A lot of people will tell you this story. And we all have those stories carried with us. We did not quit. Yabaru never quit. He stayed where he was. He stayed focused and learned what he had to learn. And after learning, he didn't just stay to the United States or wherever he went in Guinea. No, he decided to go back home. He didn't even have in mind that he would be running mate one day, but he decided to go on his village and give back to his people. He didn't have to steal, to rob the Liberian people to be popular. He earned it. And that story is going to make him popular more than those that you think are popular today. So I think Councilor Gongloe didn't make a mistake. He chose the right person. And because they all think the same way, and when they are leading Liberia, nobody gonna be scratching their head that your number 2 person is taking X and you taking Z. No, they're gonna be thinking the same direction. To encourage our young people that nothing in life comes easy. You have to work and earn it. You can't spy, or you can't just rob people because you want to be popular or because you want to have money. You have to learn something. Right. And then reach the level you want to reach and come back to give to your people. So I think Dr. Yakpawulo has everything that a running mate needs to get Liberians some vote to be for him.
With all the beautiful things you said about Yakpawulo, how do those things translate into vote so that people vote for him? Will people be voting? Will Liberians be voting for the Gongloe Yakpawulo ticket based on those things that you have stated?
Dennis, I just told you the story resonates with people. The market women to the market. You know how many of their children they had to give to people to raise because they want the children to learn? So his story goes across, that story goes across Liberia. Whether you are a market woman, whether you are a farmer, people gave their children to other people just so they will be better people tomorrow. And I think that story, when they hear Yakpawulo's story, they think they want to vote for him because he will make their children. He will prioritize their children's future. I think that story is a great story, and that will bring votes to Councillor Gongloe.
Thank you. Anthony, you support Mr. Cummings. Let's look at other VP and C. So we look at Boakai's vice presidential running mate, Jeremiah Cohn from Nimba County. 3 times he was elected. Charlene Brumskin, well, never worked in government, but she's a Boseju. She's using a Brumskin name. That alone is selling, right? We also see Grace Kwan, former Maserado County Superintendent. Josh Weah took a second-term senator from Bond County. If you look at those people and look at Yakpawulo, what is the edge there, you think? And how is that important in elections in Liberia?
So I will begin by saying, first of all, good evening to all the panelists. And Mr. Jerry, welcome to you as well. I personally don't know Mr. Dr. Yakpawulo. I won't pretend here. I recently heard of him, and I started looking up, what did he study? What are some of the work he have done? And I started coming across, the Bond County, agriculture polytechnic there, and all the different things, I started coming across those things. However, the question here we are here to answer tonight is, how does those things translate into votes? Because I think Maurice Goman said it best. The ultimate goal here is to win. If you don't win, you can't govern. That you can have your brightest idea, you can have the best platform, or all of the different things. If you don't win, it's just another story, it's just another conversation, right? So how does those, things, translate into votes? But I didn't hear the independence in the voice of, our is that Ms. Morba?
Yes, sir.
Good. I didn't hear the independent because I saw independent there. It says
I'm being honest. I'm honest.
I'm not saying not honest. I'm just saying I didn't hear the independence in your voice because it sounds as though you are a supporter of the Gongloe ticket, because that's how you sound like in my ear. Maybe I'm understanding you wrong. But I'm just trying to put it out there. That's how I understood it. But because each one of us here supporting somebody, even Mr. Jerry just came in supporting Mr. Gongloe. So I just wanted to hear the independence in your tone of voice and things of that nature.
What does that mean, the independence?
Well,
that independence means she will speak of it and say the Liberian people decide what, but she was speaking as though she was supporting this man. I'm just speaking on that. But let me stick to the point.
Being independent doesn't mean you can't be honest. That's how I feel.
All right, that will be another debate we'll have.
Yeah.
So now with the way Liberia, I hear this story. Oh, when you leave your parent home and have to stay with somebody to go to school, that will be 99.9% of Liberia. And that is that narrative we want to change. No one has to, because my dad is a victim of that. He was very unfortunate that the home that he was in was ill-treated, and today he's not educated. No one should subject their children to that lifestyle so that they have to live with somebody to survive. They should be able to send their children to school, whether or not there are 2 trousers, 2 shirts they can afford for their children. They themselves should be able to afford it, and that comes with the economic, opportunities in this country, where job creation will create those opportunities that everyone will have that chance. You don't have to be a rich person for you to afford education for your child, because that story we are, including myself. I had to stay with somebody to go to school at a certain time before my dad took me back because things got better, right? That is not a story that we should be proud of. That is a country that deprived its citizens of the opportunity that every child deserves in the country. And that is the reason why we need to talk about this. Now, to say, okay, his story will benefit, then George Weah's story should benefit, and that go home tomorrow, because George Weah came from the slum and rose to the top and became the football legend, and no one in Africa can argue with that. No one in Europe can argue with that. No one in North America can argue about George Weah's soccer ability, right? If that is the case, then Joe Biden should be the president tomorrow, because his story also is unique. I think we got to be serious here when we talk about this story thing, because then Jeremiah Cohn then With the Joe Parker supposed to win because he came from nowhere. But yes, the difference here. What are they offering the Liberian people? Why should the Liberian people vote for them? What is the stark contrast here? What does electing this person will bring to our district, to our town, to our villages, to our cities? These are the things we need to talk about, because if we would talk about that sorrowful story, 99.9% of Liberians have that story. My dad, he's 93 years old in Delaware. He carried President Tubman on his shoulder, barefooted. So
are you saying so it means 99.9 people resonate with the Yakwagulo story? Is that what you're saying?
not only just the Yakwagulo, I need almost every one of them, right? Even the Charlie Broskin mom had to get tuition from JMB because her parents could not afford it. You heard the story. Cummings' mom was selling the market. You heard the story.
Oh, okay, I got you.
No, but the live correction that Charlie Muller is not contesting. Kumi Muller is not contesting. It is Charlie that is contesting. It is Kumi that is contesting.
Her mother was not educated.
Kumi did not sell in the market. Charlie did not sell in the market.
Exactly.
Charlie went to high school in America.
Hold on,
you will have your turn. You will have your turn. But here's the narrative. If her mother was not being successful, the paradigm shift would have been the otherwise, right? The chances are, when you are successful, the chances for your children to be successful are higher compared to when you are not successful. That's just the norm, right? So that story will not fly. It's what they're offering the Liberian people. What are you going to bring different from the rest of the other people that have served this country, and our country is in this stagnation? That's the difference. It's not sorrowful story. You don't have to suffer to be a good leader. You don't have to go through the train. That is a bad precedent that everyone has to go through the slump. Today, Liberia has one place just to get passport. The man all the way in South Canada just to get a passport, he has to come to Monrovia. The one from Grand Jita has to come to Monrovia. The other man from Grand Bassa has to come to Riverside, has to come to Monrovia. That one foreign ministry is the only authorized area to get a passport. Something wrong with that picture. And so when we're talking about moving Liberia forward in this 21st century digital economy, we got to be thinking very high and think about ways that we can improve the living condition of every Liberian.
What do you think Yakwagulo is adding to this ticket?
He's a great man. I read about him. I mean, his story and his personality, and people speak of his integrity. I don't know him personally. I just started reading about him. But he's not known nationally. Let's be honest. He's not known nationally, and he came to the picture. How many days? 100+ days to go to the election. I heard Ms. Marba, and I'm not picking on you, but you made reference to President Obama. President Obama started his campaign in 2007 when the election was way in 2008. He announced his candidacy on the steps in Chicago that he's going to run to be president. Prior to that, he gave one of the famous speeches in 2004 when John Kerry was running against George Bush. The red state and the blue state, but it's about the United States of America. That one famous speech. So when people don't know it, they turn to YouTube and watch that famous speech.
So it's the same thing. His work is being done in Bond County, and people will still know about the work.
Hold on. Okay, conclude, Anthony, so I can go to Mr. Gaiman.
My thing here is, in as much that he had that great work, it will take time for people to gravitate towards that. And before you make up your mind, election is right here. And he's not the only person in the race. The competition is high. Today, when you count top politicians in Liberia, you count George Weah, you count Joseph Newman Boaka, the next is Cummings, Gongloe, and the list goes on. Right? They are not top two. That team is not top two. I'm not saying it. I'm a Cummings supporter, and you see why I put Cummings. Cummings took 5th place in the past election, and guess what? He rose to the 3rd place there consistently. Does that mean he will win the election? It is yet to be determined. But we are working. Everyone has to work to reach that level. And I'm just being fair here. I'm not trying to politicize this thing. The reality is that it takes time for Liberian people to grab. And we are noted not voting on the issue. We are noted. So what are not going to deliver for him? I know Gongloe will pull a huge vote in Nima County, but whether or not that will translate for him in Bond County, that is yet to be determined because he had never been tested electorally in Bond County.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to the unbiased and unapologetic citizen. So, Mr. Gaiman, we're talking about Yakpawulo. In your view, what does a vice presidential running mate need, and does Yakpawulo have it?
Well, one of the things that anybody in politics need is name recognition and following. As I'm looking at Mr. Yakpawulo, I see finally, I just, to be fair to him, I just read his, Mr. Mame told me to go online, and I went and I pulled out his resume and looked at it. And I see why people are confused. He's either a Yuri or he's a Taylor. He has a hyphenated name, Dr. Emmanuel Yuri, hyphenated Yakpawulo. And then in his biography, it says his father's name is Yakpawulo Taylor. So you see the confusion is all over the place. Is he a Yuri? Is he a Yakpawulo? Is he a Taylor? So with that, the PR folk have to go into his autobiography or into a PR and clean that up and see who he is. Because as it stands, we don't know who he is. I think Mr. Krumah called him, knew him as a Yuri, and then all of a sudden it's Yuri hyphenated Yakpawulo. And then when you read a biography, his father full name is Yakpawulo Taylor. So if he's the son of Yakpawulo Taylor, is he a Taylor? So all of these things have to be cleaned up. But on the academic side, I'm from the social sciences, and one of the most prestigious social science schools in this country, besides the University of Chicago, is the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He graduated from that school. So the gentleman is very solid. Too many people do not graduate from the University of Madison, University of Wisconsin at Madison. He did that at the PhD level. So he's very, very brilliant. Now, when it comes to the academics, he brings something to the table. But as we have seen around the world, the academics alone is not sufficient. If that was the case, we just saw what happened in Sierra Leone with a man with a PhD in economic management, did not do very well in that campaign. So we've been seeing these things all over the place. So I think Yakpawulo, I have to give Mr. Gongloe an A for someone who has been talking about doing something new. He was brave enough. He could have gone look for a Totman or Talbot or one of those names, Finlay or any of those names that everybody will recognize. Instead, he took the path less traveled. He took somebody who someone can actually say he's a man of clean hands. He can put his hand up and say, I'm a man of clean hands. Academically, he's solid. Based on his community involvement, he's very solid. He has not been maligned or aligned with corruption, government job, none of those things. So Gongloe did an excellent job.
He actually worked for government, Mr. Gaiman, but yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, when we talk about work for government, we are talking about in the area where you are actually the top dog and you've been around for so long. So working on the land commission, all of those things, when you look at it, say he was a staff assistant, okay? The way he started from as a staff assistant. So he wasn't a decision maker by which we can say he was responsible for a bad decision, a bad policy. We can hold him to that. It never happened. So we got to give the brother credit. He's very solid. And we got to give Mr. Gongloe credit for going outside and doing something that is very, very much strange in politics.
Mm-hmm. And how does that help him win, right? Because politics or running for president is not a protest to say, okay, since nobody is doing this, I'm going to do it. Can that help him win the Yakpawulo pick?
Oh, yes, he can. I mean, politics is an uphill battle because you need resources, you need all of those things. But what he has done is in line with his integrity. Gentleman who is willing to take the road less travel to make a point, because he is not just trying to win, but he's trying to win the right way. So I think a lot of folks will gravitate towards that. And
That's
the young
the
man is very
point.
Thank you. Let me go to
Thank
Mr.
you,
Gibson Jero, another Gongloe supporter. Welcome, Mr. Jero. I don't. That's why you came late, because we don't want to over Gongloe the panel.
You know, I saw Mami on the show, and I thought, what am I doing? I'm not even needed on that show.
But look, let me ask you one question. If you want to go, then you can.
Down, Mr. Jerry, because the woman is not independent.
I'm independent. You don't know.
Well, you can be independent and be leaning. They get independent.
She leaning Gongloe,
Mr. Jero, this whole thing around Yagbablo that they don't know him. To what extent is that impacting the ticket? Number two, he's starting already. The people that are running, that are in the race, or the top candidates in the race, have been doing this thing since maybe 2005, 2011, 2017. Councillor Gongloe got in this a year, maybe a year now. And then on top of that, you are taking somebody who is politically unknown on the scene, like 3 months to the election. Is this too late?
No, it's not too late. I will tell you 3 things that we need to remember forever when it comes to Councillor Gongloe. The first thing, they said Councillor Gongloe was not known. He's not popular. Where is he going? They don't even care about him. But their story have changed. They are not saying that anymore. When they are counting competitive candidates for president, their Councillor Gongloe name is now being mentioned. The Spoon TV had a little pool this few days, and Councillor Gongloe beat Cummings to it. He was 1 point less than George Weah, and Joe Buckeye won that particular pool. But for me, I see it as a giant step from somebody who they said was obscure. Nobody knows the name. In fact, he's too late. But now he's beating Cummings to a pool conducted abruptly in my presence. Conducted abruptly. Now that's number one. Number two, when they say the man is not known, how do they mean? What do they really mean when they say the man is not known? You want the man to be known like Louis Brown, who is with Cummings now? Cummings say he's a clean man. He got Louis Brown because Louis Brown is known. Is that the kind of not known you want? You want him to be known like Jeremiah Kuhn, who hands are saddled with corruption, and he did all kinds of things. Want him to be known like him, or how you want him to be known? Well, Gongloe is not considering, and I like what Jerome said, Mr. Gibbons said. What Gongloe have done is a defiance to business as usual. Defiance to business as usual. Let me take these people because they are politically known. No, that's not what Gongloe wants. Gongloe wants to go with someone that he can defend tomorrow. That can defend him tomorrow. Now, all of us here, nobody can talk about the dirty deeds of Mr. Yabablo because he doesn't have. We're only talking about name or he's not known. That is the kind of debate that Councillor Gongloe is trying to generate. We're trying to bring new things into the picture and forget about the recycled politicians that continue to parade the corridor of power and politics in this country, in our country. So that is the number two. The third one, and I want to say, and for me, when I say these things, people get angry with me because I like to speak straightforward. We are in the first round. We have to make a distinction between us and the rest of the candidates. Now, why is Councillor Gongloe better than Mr. Cummings? Mr. Cummings, from the time he entered the politics, he been making bad decisions. All his decisions are bad. They make him, he say, I'm not going to support any candidate in the run-up because all of them are the same. At the end of the day, he joined the rest of the people, and he joined a CPP that eviscerated him, that undo him, that destroyed his political career. The same Cummings, he decided to bring Louis Brown on board. Louis Brown is a clean man. Is that the kind of person? The decisions he made. He went and took Musa Belete in a developed Liberty Party. Liberty Party without Bassa people is not a Liberty Party. Mr. Comey should know that. That's bad decision, and these are the bad decisions that will not make him president. But let's look at Joe Biden. Do we want Joe Biden? Look at Joe Biden. Do we really want Joe Biden? And when I say the people say, "Oh, I don't respect the man," no. It's the matter of making a distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden picked Jeremiah Kuhn. Oh, wow! But look at the process that it took. The man is being controlled by the man they call criminal, a murderer. He is now controlling the politics of Unity Party. When he can become president, and in the future, if he leaves and Jeremiah Kuhn become president, it is the man we call Prince Johnson that will control the politics of the day.
That's too much of a leap. But let me bring you to a point. You said Councillor Gongloe is being defiant. He's defying the norm. Well,
defy business as usual.
Right, but let's look at this one. All the candidates went outside their own political party to pick running mate. Councillor Gongloe did that. All the candidates looking for vote rich or the so-called vote rich county, Councillor Gongloe did that, went to a vote rich, so-called vote rich bond. So where's the defiance?
He didn't pick the person that they want, that is popular. Oh, nobody know him.
The last thing he said, he was going to pick a woman. He didn't. He picked a man.
When he myself talk, he didn't talk about woman. He said
it nationally.
He can say it nationally, but when we talk, the final decision was made.
He said it. He said it here.
I'm not denying that. Maybe he had a thought to go with woman, but when the last time that we talked for the final decision that was made, he told me point blank. In fact, he told us that he will go with a male, and he's going with someone he has worked with, who is clean and who is articulate, who is qualified, educated, and collected. And that person he was going to name the person, and that person was Dr. Yabawolo. Today we are talking about Dr. Yabawolo not being known. We're not talking about him being dead. Oh, the man stole here. Oh, you were in here. He stole money here. We're not talking about all of that. We're talking about.
Mr. Jah, if I may, he implicated.
This is denied.
30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, hold on. I will go to Mami first, Morris, and then you.
Okay, no problem.
You'll get more rebuttal, don't worry.
So while we wait for Ma'am, okay, yeah, go ahead, Mami, because I have question for Mr. Gay too.
So I wanted to put this thing about popularity and name recognition in context, because what I see happening and we need to really bring control to is I see an emerging trend of recognition elitism or popularity elitism, wherein when the quote-unquote sophisticated people on Facebook, the few 5,000 persons on Facebook or working in government ministry or sitting on the radio, do not know you, and then it's interpreted as you not being popular or not having a name that is recognized. That's recognition elitism. Yakpawolo has lived his life with indigenous people across the country, educating and working with them to protect their land. And you say he's not popular? He has lived over 20 years of his life working with rural women, because the things that concern them, that he has worked to protect, doesn't concern you, so you feel he's not popular, or you describe him to be unpopular. Most of the people in Monrovia who are calling him not popular or doesn't have a name is because they have resources. They can move from one place to another. They can even buy land that is not for the real owner. So they don't care about how precious land is to them. Indigenous people see land beyond its monetary value. They are attached to it culturally. They can die for it. This man worked with them to protect their inherited right to land. Move beyond just protecting their rightful laws, but teaching them how to ensure they have their value for land. and you come and say he's not popular because few educated people, few elite in Monrovia don't know him.
Thank you.
Who knew Joseph Boakai as a politician when President Seli selected him in 2005? Nobody. But he won Lofa County against all the popular politicians in Lofa in 2005. He swept Lofa. Nobody knew the name Joseph Boakai as a politician in Liberia history. All the top names from Lofa County were with different political parties, but Joseph Boakai defeated them. It was because of his grassroots work he did and how he lived with his people in Lofa. That's how Lofa stood with him. The people of Liberia, the indigenous people, the women who since 1847 now have right to land.
When you say indigenous, what do you mean?
We're talking about our tribal people. We're talking about our tribal people. They have now, in the law now, they have customary right to land.
Thank you.
Their customary right to land has been recognized. I'm not saying this to say that Jakbawolo alone took the land right issue and ran with it and party. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm recognizing his consistent effort of research, of committing his research, his education, his time, his resources to come to America and go back and say, we must address this issue and work with others to do it. So let's stop this recognition elitism or popularity elitism. That a few people in Monrovia don't know you, it means you're not popular or you've not been recognized. The second thing, lastly, sorry.
Yeah, we
yeah,
go on 5+ minutes.
Yeah,
sorry.
We need to control
yeah,
the time.
1 minute. Yeah, just 1 minute.
Another 1 minute.
Yeah, nobody is explaining sorrowful story for Yakpawolo. No. We have an agenda that we presented and continue to communicate to the Liberian people. We explain his story purposely not to say it's the basis for which he should be elected. But because his story resonates with everybody across the country, they see themselves in him. That's why we explain his story. Thank you.
Thank you. Morris.
So, I mean, gentlemen, and my sister, elections is a number game. I mean, we can talk about all the different qualities that all of the candidates have. Election is about numbers. There's no way you can go into an election process if you don't consciously think about the numbers. In Bond County, there are 234,000 people that are registered to vote. This is going to be a test to Emmanuel Ure's popularity in Bond. You guys are making the claim that he's known across the country. If he is, we'll see. I mean, if Emmanuel Ure is really popular and he's on Tiawan Gongloe's ticket, I heard Jerome say Mr. Gibson saying that people assume that nobody knew Tiawan. That one is difficult to say because in the temporary body politics of Liberia, there's no way you can go in Liberia and nobody takes it. They don't know Tiawan Gongloe. He's known because he has always taken a very strong position against popular beliefs. So that in itself makes the person popular. So it's a number game. If Ure and if Yakpawolo and Tiawan is on a ticket, and Tiawan is from a popular county, and Ure is also from a popular county, then that number will show in about 3 months. I will give my honest position on this. I honestly think Ure is not popular enough to deliver even Bond County. He cannot even deliver Bond County for Tiawan. But the one thing that I will say, even within that, is that this is a really, really good ticket for the future. You know why? Because we're starting a new conversation about how to identify good candidates in an election process. Historically, we've always elected people that don't have good judgment. I mean, look at some of the people we have in the national legislature. They are not good candidates. They just passed a $65 million, loan for the government 3 months to elections. It tells you how bad, of a structure we have in the country. But election are normal game. If you guys honestly think that your ticket is the ticket that can catapult you to third place or fourth place, whatever it is, I mean, in 3 months or 4 months, we'll see that number. We'll see what it's going to look like.
Thank you. So in essence, Morris is saying, if if you come home and you say you killed deer, nobody should argue with you. But let's inspect your wild part in the evening.
Absolutely.
Anthony, please move up. I don't know what's going on with your internet. Are you in Liberia?
I'm here. A couple of calls came in.
Yeah. So put your call or your phone on do not disturb. We can.
Oh, okay. Let me do that right now.
Here's my question for you, and you can come up with your. So when Mr. Cummings and Councillor Bromsky were asked about popularity or not working in government, they said, "What good is public service? If the people that are being in public service, they're corrupt and all that, right?" So can Yakwabulo make that same argument, like, what good with popularity if those who are popular, like you already said, like in the legislators or in the legislature, those who are popular or they won because they were popular, they are corrupt. So can Yakwabulo make the same argument that Cummings Bromsky team making?
Absolutely not. It's like apple and oranges. They are all fruits, but very unique in their categories, right? So, for instance, the medical people will tell you this. If somebody have an acid reflux disease, the doctor will not tell you to drink orange juice. They will tell you to drink apple juice because it will not irritate the acid reflux. What do I mean by that? They are all Liberians, and they are all, seeking political office. But the circumstances here will, Dr. Yakpa is that.
No, but you understand my question? When they attack you don't have public services, it's not good. The people with public service, they corrupt.
Yeah.
So on popularity, they say the popular people are corrupt.
So here's the thing. In order to govern, you need the numbers to put you over the hump to have the opportunity to exercise all of your policies and all of the different things that you want to implement. However, we have long heard about you must have a government experience or this person does not have a government experience. Liberia's number one problem today is leadership. It's not because we don't have the natural resources to develop our country. It's not because we don't have the educated people. It has always boiled down to leadership. What do you prioritize? What are the mechanisms you put in place to give everyone the opportunity to strive? Today, capital flight is killing Liberia. The reason why it's killing Liberia is because the current government is not addressing capital flight issue. Because what is capital flight? Non-regulated businesses, people coming into the country, pay the fees. All these big businesses, Chinese businesses, now operating using the Liberian banking sector. They are using their own sector and sucking up the money off the market, and people are struggling. Right? We have had this issue. Why are we running two currencies concurrently in the country? The vendors, the business people are not struggling on that front because they get their money anyhow. But the ordinary man, the Irish Liberian, are being exploited because of two currencies. No country right now in the world are using two currencies concurrently. Only Liberia. Any other country you go to Western Union, they give you that native currency. So leadership has always been a problem. So if the man is not popular, cannot win enough vote, how will he win to govern the nation, even if he had the best ideas? Now, to my brother's point, amendment point, Mr. Amendment, here's the thing. You can attach your passion, your emotion to how much you describe this man. It does not change the fact that he needs to accumulate the necessary vote to win the election. So now, I'm in 7 different group chats in Grand Juda County. And when the picture surfaced, people are like, but who is this man? But who is this man? We know Councillor Gongloe to be the poor man lawyer, but who is this man? But who is this man? Only 2 students who did agriculture. One of them was my employee, and he mentioned, oh, this man did this for Bon County and they put a thing there, the agriculture school over there. He did a fantastic job. That's how people started hearing about it, right? Now, you're not running Bon County election. You're running a nationwide election. And in order to, people pick vice president for various reasons. One of the reasons is that vice president helping you to get over the hump. You saw when Charlene Bronsky was picked, it sparked conversation across the nation, even in the diaspora for a whole week. Why? Even though she have now worked in government, but she brings something to the table. She brings something to the campaign team. Today, people are flocking to Philadelphia now because of her. Coming back to Philadelphia more than 3 times. I hosted coming 2 times. And I saw the attendance. Today, I can beat my chest. It will be overcrowded. Why? Charlene Bromsky. Coming back to that same Philadelphia before 3 times. I hosted him twice. So the pick has something to do. When Obama picked Joe Biden, and then McCain went for Sarah Palin, people saw the gap. The VP pick is major. Now, let me debunk what Mr. Jerry said about the spoon talk, pooling, and also Mr. Cummings' decision making. The truth be told, Louis Brown is not on the CPP ticket. He's part of the campaign team, yes. He's not on the CPP ticket. He's never going to be on the ballot. He's not on the ballot. So we're talking vice presidential pick. Let us compare apple to apple, not apple to oranges. Again, they are all fruits, unique in their categories, right? The spoon talk. Since the incident happened with Witherspoon, most of the ANC and CPP supporters decided not to go on that platform. They deem it unfit to go on. And guess what? Most of us are supposed to be there to vote. We weren't there to vote. So a poll was conducted on OKFM, where Mr. Cummings got 35% of the vote. A poll was conducted on 2FM, Mr. Cummings got 33% of the vote. A poll was conducted on closing argument, Mr. Cummings got 35% of the vote as well. So it depends which network. If Focus on Liberia conduct a poll and Mr. Cummings gets 1 vote, then you are making a point. Guess what? Because Focus on Liberia had never identified with any other political party. They are independent. They even ask tough questions. We don't get away with murder here, right? So the truth has to be told. What now which side you on? You can propagate your message. You can say, like the UP will say, the Liberian people are resolved. Is that a reality? Absolutely not. I've been using my phone for the past 2 months now. There are many people in our country that are undecided. They are confused. They are undecided. They have their voter registration card. They are confused. I just formed a coalition in district number 4, Maserati County, Duparow area. Over 200 persons in less than 2 weeks, just by banking the phone, right? So I'm telling you, but the United Party, they do a very good job by saying the Liberian people are resolved. They are very good at propaganda. They say the Liberian people are resolved. They will say nobody knows Cummings. Nobody knows Cummings when he came. Right now, you cannot discuss the Liberian politics without mentioning Mr. Cummings' name. That's point number 1. Point number 2, he was 5th place. Today, Mr. Cummings defeated Prince Johnson in Maserati County. He took 3rd place in Maserati County. This man first time took 3rd place in Maserati County. And is one of the hardest working politicians in Liberia. Have visited every county. So don't come here and try to lecture us.
Oh man, okay, let me just point out quickly before you go. Yeah, so I mean, Cummings' total votes in the last election are 112,000 votes. Yeah, at the time, you have over 1 million people that are registered to participate in the election, and you claiming that 100,000 votes in 5th place is so relevant that we're supposed to take him as a serious politician now in 2023. Is that the claim you're making?
Morris, let us be honest. Politics is dynamic, it's not static.
I just wanted to ask a question because in this 2023, we have over 2 million people that are registered to vote.
Yes.
What percent of that you think Cummings is going to win in 2023 in 3 months?
I can tell you for a fact, straight face today, Cummings will be in the 2nd round. Because here's the thing.
Okay, Chief.
Thank you. I want us to move on.
It's dynamic, right?
I want us to move on. We spend 1 hour on this one.
So hold on. One last thing I'm going to say. United Party brag about this. Since Ellen was expelled in 2017 on her birthday, guess what? From the party on her birthday, the United Party have yet to win an election without a collaboration. I challenge any UP person to tell me that. You have yet to win an election without a collaboration. The most recent election that was held in Lopa County, without the collaboration, Even though you have your 400,000 votes in the vote, you could not deliver in your own backyard.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief. All right, let's move
Thank
on.
you. Mr. Gamer, let me give you 30 seconds to give the final word on this topic so we can move to the next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's move to drug use, right? And let me preface this by saying this, because every time there is an issue in Liberia, these are the two things that we say. Either this been happening long time and you can blame Josh Weah, or we say even in America this thing happened. So let's come to drug use. That on both sides of the argument, people present the argument like, is Josh Weah's fault or is not Josh Weah's fault? Today, I want us to get away from that just for a few seconds and look at the issue of drugs. You've seen the pictures. You've seen the videos of Liberians, young people acting like zombies when they are under the influence of what some people say is kush or whatever. I really have not been able to see drug, to really come close to see what drug look like. All right. So the hour, and then we have, I don't know whether this is good news or bad news. At the same time, the 54th legislature passed several amendments to the country drug law, making most offenses non-bailable. The new law includes stricter penalties for drug offenses and makes it extremely difficult for individuals charged with drug-related crimes to be released on bail. It also reads, according to the new law, drug dealers, cultivators, and manufacturers are not eligible for bail until their trial is complete, and if found guilty, will be sentenced to life imprisonment. They are making it light for the users and making it tighter for the trafficking, the dealers, and all that. Let's discuss the issue of drugs. And let me start with Mr. Gay. Hold on, let me even show one of these pictures, and the video is this video is Mr. Gay. And Mr. Gay, I also saw people burning drugs in Grand Jida, and they were protesting. They say, hey, why are you here burning drugs? Where did it come from? And where are the people? I told you about the phone. Let me go to Alice on the drug. Your phone. Go ahead, Alice.
Well, the drug issue in Liberia is very, very serious. It affects future generations. So looking at that video alone is something that can bring anybody to tears. Imagine having a young child and now they look like zombie. They don't even know what's going on. I saw another video somewhere where the young boy is dead at Redemption Hospital. And they've been dying throughout. Every time there's somebody dying from kush, as they call the drug. So I think passing the tougher laws is the right way to go. And I like the fact that they're making the laws tougher for those that are importing the drugs. Because if there's no seller, there'll be no user. If these people are not bringing the drugs in the country, the young people will not buy them. So I think that what they should begin from, exactly as they pass the law, is something that I really appreciate. And so I think we need to do more. It's not George Weah or previous administration or anything. It's the problem of Liberia and those who bring in the drugs. I saw another video about a woman selling something they call 7 whatever. But these things are not good for the people. They're not good for the kids. And because they don't know any better, they will keep buying things that will destroy them. So I think it's a right step in the right direction.
Mr. Gibman, what is responsible for this, and has our government done enough?
Well, you know, 1988 or so, Cohen was in Liberia, and he was warning Liberians about the unintended consequences of war. He says, I'm seeing a lot of folk beating this war drum, that removing though or a war will change everything, but there are more to it than war. He says, you may be taking this country by minimum 50 years. And those who were financing the war, those who had interest in it, kept saying, level Monrovia, we were rebuilding in 90 days. So these are the things we are talking about when we are talking about the unintended consequences of war, where Barack Matthew used to talk about the rural push and urban draw. During the war, we had basically the whole country coming to Monrovia for safe haven. So a city that was built for maybe 250,000 folks has now, they say, over 1 million people. Some of these people, most of them are squatters. So here we are. You talk to anybody in Liberia now, they will tell you the country is so hard we can hardly get a cup of rice to eat. But then on the other hand, they are saying that the average Zogo that have no job, that have no money, they are making money off these kids by buying drugs. So it's a conundrum. The government needs not only to do more, but it's the enforcement end of it. And we are not talking about just arresting folks and putting them in jail, but the rehabilitation part of it. As you can see, Liberia has a serious issue with our penal codes and the rehabilitation part of it, which is you grab these guys and put them in jail. What's next? The next is for you to rehab these folks. Do you have the manpower? Do you have the know-how? Do you have the resources to do this? So we have a lot of work to do. I think the government needs to lobby, just as we lobby for roads and hospitals and pay to make payroll. I think we have to actually use this as a national security issue where we can lobby around the world for the expertise and the resources to rehabilitate folks. After you rehabilitate them, you don't put them right back in the community, but they have to be, when I was in the industry here, we have a transitional system. Then we move to a halfway house. These are all transitional systems to reintroduce you into the community where you can become an employee. You go to work for a couple of hours, you come home to the halfway house and they monitor your drug testing and all of these things. When you go through that for an X amount of time, then they release you into the community based on conditions. So yes, the government needs to do more, but our judicial system needs to do even more by enforcing. Because
that's part of the government.
Yeah, and this is what we are talking about too. When we're talking about the judicial system, which is directly under the auspices of the executive, we need to talk about the power that be.
The judicial not under the executive or chief. Let's get that.
Okay. Well, with the law enforcement after was under the executive, but if
That's
it's not
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
So this is what we are talking about. What I'm saying,
the justice ministry, the police.
Yeah, the big people that are bringing in the drug, and you are not going after them, and you're taking picture of those young kids that are in the street. You're wasting your time. Somebody has to have the avenue to bring in the ship, the helicopters, whatever it is they use to bring the drug. So it is a work that we all have to take part in.
So Mr. Gaiman, before I let you go, there is we recently saw the $100 million drug case in Monrovia where the people walked. The same day they were all out of the country. I also watched a video in Grand Juda where they were burning the drugs, and those DEA guys, they are going around dancing as if something good has happened. But the people were saying, if you were burning a truck full of drugs, who did you catch with it? Where are the people?
That's right.
Right? So again, it goes back to the government. I interviewed here Anita Wanted, the girl who lived in the graveyard before. Now she's a gospel artist, and said even the DEA, the pastor, the teachers, the police, everybody's in the ghetto on drugs. What can we do, especially the government? What should the government be doing?
Well, collectively, we have. It's not just a government
It's
thing.
not me. I know about the collective, but government has the one with the resources to do. What should the government do?
Well, first of all, our judicial system has to. We need a total reform of our judicial system.
But
Because-
you got to check them first before you take them to
you
the
know
court.
what the idea here is, if somebody imported, like, let's say the $100 million drug thing we're talking about, somebody brought in $100 million worth of drug, and the government prosecuting arm, which is the justice minister, deliberately sabotage his own case. Okay, so this is what we are talking about. We are talking about. You heard what the judge says. He said the justice ministry brought a case that they knew they can't win. First of all, the people that transported the drug name were not even listed. But these people that came to pick up the drug, those are the folks. These people name were not attached to anything. So you deliberately undermine your own case, and the people left out of town, and then you want to put it on the judicial, and the judicial said no. So we have to be honest with ourselves. I'm talking about the government and Liberian people. We have to be honest with ourselves. Other than kicking the can down the street, we have to be honest, and we are dishonest.
Thank you. Mr. Kroman.
Yeah, I think. Oh, you want to say
as this issue exacerbated, is it government fault? Is it from one government to the other? I was listening to somebody and say, "Oh, this thing, the parents have to do something about it." You know, what's happening here, and what's the way forward?
I think it's a collective effort that needs to be applied all across the society. But the first thing is the government needs to declare a national emergency. They need to declare this drug thing a national emergency, just like we did with the Ebola crisis, just like we did with the COVID. The drug is destroying the society. So the government needs to declare a national emergency so that our development partners, the government, the society, the student, the church, the mosque, all the society can focus their attention on this and try to get rid of it. But the truth is that, Dennis, the drug business in Liberia is a huge syndicate. And it has tentacles all inside government, all inside the national security apparatus, all inside our different social and moral institutions. And so it's difficult to fight it. But if you declare the national emergency, and hopefully somebody like, our vice president, who is a direct victim, can take charge of it and say, okay, this is forget about the politics. This is something that I would take, and all of us will work together and try to see how we can address this issue. And unless we do that, maybe appoint President Weah can appoint a czar, a czar that can actually just bring different, public institutions together, Ministry of Health, the National Security, the President Office, and have all these people around that can just work towards, this, at least reducing it. It's not going to end. I can tell you, the drug war is not going to end, like, bro, but at least reduce it to a manageable level. Right now, it's going out of hand. It's just ridiculous what is happening. I saw that video, my heart broke for that young man. Somebody's child who they've invested so much in, it's ending up, doing zombie.
Mr. Kroma, you said something about a drug czar. Remember SGBV roadmap? Remember also you talk about the vice president. The vice president once said that when little girls are molested, blame the parents because you're not taking care of. So
So
I'm just pointing that out.
yeah, but that's the point that I'm making. I know she has made a lot of blunders. To me, this is an opportunity for her to just lay her own legacy to say, well, imagine if Joel just called the national attention and say, my son is a victim of this particular pandemic. This is an emergency. Our country needs to pay attention to this. It's no more just an issue that is in the ghettos of Logantown, Nugutown, West Point. It's actually all across. You can go to J.J. Roberts High School, privileged school, and you find drug in that school. You can go to, an elite church or a mosque, and you still find drug in those areas. So all of us now collectively need to work towards something on this. If the vice president does that, she gets empathy, she gets people to say, I want to volunteer to help in this process. And unless that happens, you can have the vice president, for heaven's sake, Dennis, the president, taking pictures of these people that are hardcore, have been involved in all these stupid crimes, and our people, our leaders are, flaunting with them online. The pictures are all over the place online. It shows that people are reckless. They don't care. They don't care who they interact with as long as something is in it for them.
Right.
It's terrible. There's a guy in prison here that that I know, that was taking picture of the vice president before he went to prison. Open access to this, to our vice president of Liberia. What does it say about our society? You see what I'm saying, right? And unless we do that, we're not ready to take this battle head on.
Thank you. Mr. Jero, it's easy to blame the current administration for when these things are happening. Has any of our candidates, besides Gongloe, I would say, because you support Gongloe guy, but has any of our candidates shown any clear distinction as what they're going to do differently to combat this drug pandemic?
Okay, before I go there, let me just do one thing here quick. Anthony said Liberia is the only country in the world that has two currencies. Sorry, it's not true. Swaziland is using two currencies. They use the Swaziland Lilaginin and they're using South African rand. Namibia is using Namibian dollar and South African rand. Democratic Republic of Congo is using the Congolese franc and using the Zaire. And Zimbabwe is using the US dollar, they're using South African rand, and using euro. So there are several others. I just wanted to stop there. Don't say it definitively that there's nothing, because you have to do the research before you say that. Let me move on to
is the currency on the market as a legal tender?
Yes. They are using it as legal tender. You can spend it anytime. Not only that I know, but we have traveled to Democratic Republic of Congo before for 2 weeks, and that was one of the problems that I had. I didn't know whether they're using Europe, they're using the Zaire, they're using different stuff. So I'm just telling you before you say it doesn't happen, you must be very sure. But let me go to the issue we are discussing here. First of all, thank you for talking about the law that strengthens punishment. Now, I'm not from the school of thought that says people should go scot-free when they commit crime. But there are those who did a theory of punishment in criminal law. There are three things we need to look at very closely. The utilitarian theory of punishment says that anyone who is punished is intended, who's a criminal who are sent to jail is intended to purge the society. It benefits the society and it's good for the society. There's another one that says restorative punishment. The restorative punishment is to rehabilitate the convict, the criminal who is being convicted. The purpose is to rehabilitate them, even though they're going to jail. But you are doing something that when they come out of jail, they will be better than what they were. In Liberia, sadly, we are using one school of thought, one theory of the punishment system. It is the retributive justice. I will punish you so you will never do it again. That's the retributive theory of punishment, which I don't like at all. Having studied this course, it made me, I don't like it anymore. I used to like it. I will punish the criminal and then they will not do it again. No, it doesn't stop criminal from doing it. What I'm talking about here, that law, they make the user capital offense of the user and the the facilitator, the sellers, the producers, they all have the same punishment. I think it's disparity. Here is why it's disparity. If I, let me give an example of myself. I go and buy one John, they call it John, right? I go and buy one John. I smoke a policeman come arrest me, they take me to court. I'm guilty because they found it with me. I go to jail until that case is over. I go to jail for life. Do you think it is commensurate with someone who imported the drugs into the country and who is selling the drug? For two of us to have the same punishment, in restorative justice, in restorative punishment, it is unacceptable. We don't like that because it makes it impossible for people to get out of jail. Right now in America, they call it second chance law that Donald Trump brought. The same law we are talking about now, it was in America. But Donald Trump now introduced or passed a new law that those who were detained those years because they found there were one opium, one law that have been in jail forever, they are being released because of that law. And I think Liberia, the way they strengthen the law, it is good for people who are producing those drugs, those who are selling the drugs, those who are distributing the drugs. It is good for them because they are the ones that are causing our people to die. They are the ones that are corrupting our youth. But the men who go take one opium and go smoke it, the lawyer made no decision. The lawyer made, I was just reading it just now. The lawyer made no decision. Say when you use a drug. Yeah. So I think it is not fair for people who are just users. It does not mean I support people using drugs that way. But again, let's come to George Weah. You know, before I blame George Weah government because he doesn't care. He was elected on the premise that he is a grassroots person. The Zocos elected him. They love him. And he told them he would better their life. But is he bettering their life? Or he is rather paying blind eyes and these people are destroying their life. There's no youth program. There's no critical, what we call critical, youth in critical situation. I think they get a name, youth in critical life, something like that. The people launch a $13 million fund drive for them to take the youth from the streets and put them in a program. Georgia launched that program, $13 million. The first $1 million that came, they didn't give it to the youth Ministry of Youth and Sport for that program, which was to implement the program. The second $1 million that came, they didn't give it to him. They recently, Zoga Wasting had to complain that the only money they have been raised locally was $23,000. The first $1 million that came, they asked for it. Some said you're not giving it. The second $1 million that came, some said you're not giving it. George Weah government is not serious. It's using the lives of Zoko, the lives of our youth in the street. They are using them to raise money and eat the money and not do anything for the children. But where did they come from? Where did they come from? A drag from early time, the Unity Party people, they didn't pay attention. A drag from their time, it came to George Weah, and George Weah he opened it up for everybody to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gay, who shall deliver us?
First of all, that video, I mean, it set me back. Before I changed career, I was a technician in Philadelphia for a couple of years. I worked in all neighborhoods, good, bad, decent, you name it. So I came across, people who have abused substance, and when I saw that gentleman,
you say right now in your, I think Kensington Street in
Kensington. I just got a street name. Yeah, Kensington is a home of almost 300 drug users, all in the street, and police just there, making sure they're using the right syringes, making sure they're not killing themselves, and they can pick up the body when the person just collapsed in there. They pick the body up and go. If you drive by Kensington today, 5 years ago, when I used to work in that area, it was not like that. I don't know how it turned like that. But it just goes to tell you that this is a serious epidemic in our country. And it is a national security issue. And that's how Mr. Cummings sees it. It's a national security issue of Liberia. Almost every county has those people. How do I know? When I had my intention to run for the Senate of Grand County, I discovered 8 communities in Grand Gila County. I was shocked. 8 communities in Grand Gila County that have their group. I've spoken to 2 of the leaders in those very communities. I talked to them, and trust me, many of them got small skills that just need to be developed. How does this whole thing explode? The lack of job opportunity. They don't have job opportunity. And I heard Mr. Gilmer use a word that I can't remember. I know the squatter. Most of them are squatters. I don't think so. I do not think so. The problem, when joblessness came in America 2008 with the recession, people started taking their life. People started resorting to drug use. One of the reasons why you and I survive in this country is because we have a job. We don't work for government. Very few Liberians work for the government here. The vast majority don't work for government. But we have job opportunity. And when you go to school and have a specific trade, you also have an advantage of getting good paying jobs. It's not the case in Liberia. 1,700 plus students just recently graduated from university and other higher institutions across Liberia of recent. 98% of them will go home and start selling and start hustling and doing other things. They will not have a job. That is the reality of Liberia. This whole drug issue started from the United Party government because that was after the war when we had the first elected, democratically elected.
Before the war, we even had that. We had Terminal Island.
Right?
So we have had drug issues.
Correct. So we have not had a national security crackdown on these people. When I say crackdown, it's not what the administration did. They went in the community shooting people and said, "Oh, when we try to do address the drug issue, then you're crying in the country." Shooting people in the street, traumatizing people, reminding them of the 1990 war. It's not the solution to this problem. Look, we have trained clinicians, we have trained psychologists, we have trained psychiatrists, Liberians who can address this drug issue. This drug use is also a medical problem. Addiction is an illness.
Mr. Gay, I mean, I hear you. It seems like there are other components of it. There is, implementation of the law that are passing by the national.
Everybody had a
hold on. I want us to conclude. I want Mame to be the last to speak on this.
Here's the thing.
So
when
conclude.
it comes to the law enforcement part, the example that was said in recent time with $100 million,
Mr. Gay,
it's a bad incident.
Mr. Gay, just conclude with what will Cummings do to change it? What is the plan?
Absolutely. Mr. Cummings has a clear plan, and he outlined that on closing argument the other day. That is 4 different stages. Yeah. Mr. Cummings also visited that community. He was in the ghetto with these people. He sat with them for almost 45 minutes. So right?
When people quoting them, the judge got to be careful. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. Mr. Cummings' plan, identify these people, detox them. First of all, you must first detox them. Take the drug out of them. Second, put them through a rehabilitation home where when they fully detox.
They long got one already.
Correct. They don't have one, but it's just a small sample. We have over 200,000 people of that statute in Liberia, according to the report. Right? Over 200,000. They do not even have 300 people right now in his place. So let us take the yes. We appreciate the effort that they don't make, that step, but even recognizing and trying to create a home like that. But a legislature who are writing a legislation to address this national issue, now trying to score political points and trying to build a little bit, I'll do this on my own pocket. That's the reason why our country is going the way it's going. You can have 10 to 100,000 people. And what it goes. So Mr. Cummings' plan is full front. Detox the people, put them through rehabilitation, train these people, and make them productive citizens of Liberia.
Thank you.
Give them the opportunity. That is in Mr. Cummings' plan.
The American solution.
This is a national security issue. Mr. Cummings has both plans, appointing a special prosecutor to the War Crime Court, having, a flat rate at the port of Liberia. These are different things that will create jobs, that will create opportunity, and also give the people hope. There are many other people in line right now to join this path. Mr. Jai, you're not doing justice to me because many of these people that spoke lengthily. But I'll yield back, and I hope I'll be giving a time on other topic to also propound.
Thank you. Mame.
Yeah, interesting conversation. I think everybody is trying to not hit the ball on the head. For me, I think George Weah should take responsibility for what's happening under his administration with the escalation in the number of young people affected drugs. He should take responsibility. Gilman tried to beat on the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice did not renege on the case because of negligence. It was intentional. When expert witnesses begin to testify, look at the script from the court. When the Brokers Association, who normally facilitate the transportation of goods and services between one place and another before the recipient can come and receive it, when they begin to testify in court, their testimony tried to show the complexity of the administration. It tried to link the administration to the importation of the, 100 million worth of drugs. The company that was the recipient of the drugs has been repeatedly given special privileges that prevent search of their consignment. That was a testimony of, how you call them? There's a name they call them. Those guys who can, they are agents.
The custom broker.
Custom Brokers Association of Liberia. Thank you. This identical company that responsible to receive the drugs has received special privilege from the government of Liberia that its consignment cannot be searched as others' consignment are searched. Testimony in court. Why do you think the government is giving such a privilege to a company when the government is not aware of the operations of that company? That's the first area you want to know that the government is complicit. The government is involved. And that is the reason why the Justice Ministry dropped the case. Because to have gone further with bringing additional witnesses to testify, you would have been causing serious damage in the country. 100 million drug bust involving the U.S. government. The president said no word. There is something in leadership they call empathy. You don't have to have all the solution. The young people on whose sweat and blood you stood to become president and promised to transform their life. People are importing drugs and destroying their life. Even if you don't have immediate solution, the word of the president was critical and important towards the prosecution of that case. The Justice Ministry works under the president. We're not asking him to dictate to the judges to make decisions. We were calling on him to tell the Ministry of Justice, I'm interested in the evidence of this case. It brought us around the feature of people who blood and sweat are stood on to become president, the young people of this country. Provide the evidence. Let's see who are those responsible. He didn't say a word. The very king, all the people left up to today, he has not said a word. He's complicit. The blood of those young people on the hands of the president. Lastly, beyond just being silent and allowing these things to happen, you talk about rehabilitation. The government launched the program, the people provided resources, 2 different payments in 2 years. The Minister of Youth and Sport went public and said, up to now, we have not received the money. And the president cannot speak. He doesn't care. Empathy is lacking. People who have been associated with drugs were caught with Liberia diplomatic passport. The president set up a committee to investigate. It's over 2 years now. We have not established what was the outcome of that investigation. It was the U.S. government that had to arrest one of them and put him in jail, holding our diplomatic passport and trading drugs. And they arrest the person and the government of Liberia takes no action. It tells you that at the highest level of the country, the people are involved. And that's the reason why they call their home Jamaica Resort. You know what can happen in Jamaica?
Thank you. That's a stretch. But thank you. All right. Time is fast spent. There's a topic I want us to talk about briefly, at least each of you a minute each, so we can bring in our callers. That's this whole grade changing business at the law school. I mean, we are talking about the law, the legal side, the justice system, and now we have problem with changing grades. Two professor and associate professor at the university law school, that's the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law, resigned saying, hey, this person failed my course. They're not supposed to graduate. How come they're graduating? When they asked the president, said, well, the president of the university said, well, in our wisdom, we took this out of the student because we didn't get enough. And then the dean said, well, two of us were teaching the course and she was giving foreign grades, the things she was doing. All these kind of excuses, but at the end of the day, the law, the National Bar Association is trying to step in and say, hey, this is bringing our profession to disrepute, so this issue needs to be dealt with as soon as possible, and so they are trying to intervene. Mr. Gerald, what you make of this case? Who's wrong? Who's right? What is the impact? Not just to the law school, but to education as a whole in the country.
I'm looking at the case from two perspectives. The first one is I want to question. I saw the list of students, I think 30 or something more students that failed the course. I want to question the instructor. People making 20%, 10%, 15, 20, 30%.
And then doing in law school.
In law school. I want to question the professor. Look, Dennis, maybe some of them. I taught 7 years in Liberia at a high school. When I came here, my first job to teach math at a high school here in Fargo. That was my first job. And before I started teaching, in our training, teachers training, one of the things they stressed was if you gave a test and 80% of the class failed, you have failed. You will give that test back. You cannot continue with the grades. In Liberia, we all went to school there. Those of us who went to government school in Liberia, we were victims of teachers' vendetta against students. They gave tests purposely for you to fail. If those of you have not experienced it, then maybe I'm the only person that experienced it. They will teach something different, and then you give the test, everybody fail. Then they take money from you. When you refuse to get that money, they fail you. It happened over and over. How can a law school professor teach a course? 90% of your students fail the test, and you want to submit a grades. How do you do that? So I have problem with the instructor.
Thank you.
I got serious problem with the instructor. I think the instructor failed the students. I don't even know what was she teaching in the first place. How come all your students fail your course? I don't know how they fail. You should have 90% passing, 10% fail, and then you say about they want well. 90% of the students pass. It means she taught the right thing. But you taught the class, and you have all those students failing, and you say you want to submit the grades. I will teach that course over. That's the first part I want to talk about.
And you think the university authority handled the case properly?
No, that way I come in now. That way I come in.
Please let me brief. We are almost out of time.
The second part here is The university proceeded wrongly by changing the grades without the consent of the teacher. The university has a prerogative to tell the instructor and say, based on this result, you didn't do well, go and teach it back. And let's see whether she will say no. That's what institutions do. When your students fail, when the mass majority of your students fail your course, the dean of instruction tell you to go and teach the course back. You cannot submit that grade. But they shouldn't have changed the grades beyond the instructor. They should have confronted her with that. Why did you do this? How do you have the kind of grades like this? Why were you teaching the children? How did you give your question? Bring your test papers, bring your question, and bring what you taught the students, and they compare that what the dean is for. They have academicians who are on the committee to examine instructors and professors' work. They don't have that at the university when they go and change the grade beyond the instructor. You made a great instructor look crazy.
Thank you.
You cannot do that. I think it was disrespect to the instructor's work, and it was disingenuous because it put the university now as a fraudulent university. I want to go to law school. Very soon I go to Liberia. Then now I hear the kind of thing I'm scared. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman.
Well, when in graduate school, I was a graduate assistant. That's how I made my living. We had clear instructions. Even though I was a graduate assistant, I did not have final say on posting the grades. I submitted grades. And on the syllabus, they gave us how the grades are tabulated: attendance, class participation, midterm, final exam, and then there are other students that will come and ask for extra credit if they needed a few things here and there. So when all of these things are tabulated, it is sent over to the teacher, the professor that owns that class. And then they take everything into consideration. And if the whole class didn't do that well, they also have something called curb. To some degree, they will curb the grade if they have to do that for certain reasons. But that decision is made by the professor and the dean. I, as a teacher, graduate assistant, I cannot post grades. It never happens. So this tells me that there is also the university also has a problem with policies, because these things should be made clearly. Now listen, this is your responsibility. This is the hierarchy. This is the channel of doing ABC. You cannot, because I don't like Mr. Mame, he's in my class, so I'm going to fail him and post a grade. And then when the CEO comes and says, no, you can't do that, that is that, then you go public and say, it's unprofessional to do that. I was just in Liberia, and I went to one of the community colleges, and this guy was bragging that he was teaching math. He says, if I'm ready, I can give a test and nobody in the class. And he was bragging. So I told him, I said, but then you don't belong here. Because if your job is to teach something else and then prove to the kids that you are so good that nobody can pass your class and that's your badge of honor, this is terrible. He said, your American education system, that was weak. That was what he told me. So this is the university itself has to go back to their policy as to how it is done. What is the chain of command? Who has the final say so? All of those things have to be, but it tells me that there's a lot of politics into this thing, and it just looks bad, not only at the university level, but on our nation, on the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gay.
Yeah, I had an opportunity. I was not a classroom teacher, but I was a regional trainer in the technical field for about 3 years, and I can tell you for a fact, I was evaluated based on my technician that I released in the field. They spend some time I trained in, and once they get acclimated into the field, they get evaluated based on their performance. And if they're performing poorly, I get called in and questioned and understand, why the tech is performing the way he performed. So there's always this balance. There's always the accountability, everything. So,
I said, if you do the work for 30 years, then how old are you now?
I said 30 years old. I said 3 years old. I said 3 years. My whole career in telecommunications is about close to 20 years now. But I can say this: teaching is a skill, and you are a trained person to impact knowledge in other people. That the people you even train should be better than you. So if you're teaching, if you're training people and they're not being better than you got a problem, right? I think, like Mr. Gamer said, it's a policy issue. What policy are they implementing? How do they evaluate their instructors, right? What is the standard that the universities set? A student having the opportunity to also do surveys, because I went to college here and you have to do a survey on the professional performance in classroom, right? Each semester we do that survey. I also rated too on my performance as a trainer, right? Not just that performance in the classroom, but how was I presenting the matter, because they have to take a test. In other colleges, the professor teach. They don't. They can only introduce the quiz, but the final exam is not the teacher that present the final exam. It's the school that present that final, and that teacher had no access to that test, right? Because you have to follow the syllabus. And the book, every semester, some school will change that book. Sometimes 2 semesters, they change that book. It may be the same cover, but the chapter will not be the same. And that they gotta tweak the book, because they want the student also to buy the book, and they want them to have updated content. So I don't know about the University of Liberia, especially the law school. That's a very serious institution. Like Mr. Jerry, most of the time here, my second joke around, I said, your journalism work y'all learned back in the day was very prestigious, though. Now then, these journalists, some of the questions they can ask, some of the things they say, I wonder, that is a very distinct profession. How to do their job they do, right? So there are ethical principles. I always refer SPJ, journalistic ethical code of ethics, to a lot of people, because it's free and it's on Google. You can find that. So the school have to have that standard. They also have to have, when you teach anyone and they fail, you're not teaching, right? The purpose of teaching, that's why they call you an educator, right? You're imparting knowledge, and that person got to grab that knowledge and develop that knowledge and use that knowledge for that benefit. But when you teach a person, you give a test, they fail, you don't know what you're doing. Like in my role right now, if my employees are struggling, they come strictly to me. What am I doing? How am I helping them? What am I doing to help them to perform? I cannot be a technical person and my guys struggling on the technical side, right? So if the university, somebody failed the course, you don't discipline the instructor, you don't call the student to find out what happened, and then you change the grade, that whole staff need to be replaced. Set that example. Set that standard. That law school is not for joke. Why somebody score 20% in a law school? First of all, you have to have your first degree first before you enter a law school. There's a reason why it is that way. It is structured that way. You must have a first degree first before you go to law school. No one just go to law school. So if the law school is performing in this manner, that also shows that institution needs to be revamped. The dean, all those staff need to be revamped, because it shows a bad image. Liberia already has so many other issues. Then the one and only law school of Liberia, you're going to come now and tarnish the reputation of that institution? That's embarrassing. This is not a joke, and people should take it very seriously. To be a lawyer, it's not a simple thing. And why would they want people to cut corners? So, Mr. Jha, in my opinion, I'm disappointed in the school. I'm disappointed in the way the teachers are operating. And to Mr. Gilman's point, they need to, implement good policy that will, hold the instructor, the students, and the school up to a higher standard. I want to end with that.
Mr. John, let me just read something here for all of us.
Hold on. What do you want to read?
7%. The teacher gave 7%. He gave 6%, 12%, 10%.
Mr. Gerald, is that substantiated? So we don't know if that thing came on the internet. We don't know if it is true. So we don't know the source of it, so we can't quote it, right? But
okay, I agree with you. Technically, I agree with you, but if there's I agree with you.
Yeah. Mr. Mami, what does this say about the recruitment of this professors or teachers, instructor adjunct of that are teaching in these schools? Also, the admission process. Maybe people are getting 7%, 2% because, like every time I think about Liberia, when I go to Liberia, I want to teach on the high school level because I think it will be too much for me, on the university level. If you can, construct a basic sentence, I mean, what am I? Is really going to hurt my head, and I'm going to get frustrated. Even though when I was in the classroom in Guinea, I won the title of being the best math instructor in West Africa. I don't want anybody to spoil that. That was a joke. That's how they thought of me. It was not. It was there was. But so what really does this say about all these things? Even though whether that's continuing education or evaluation, because sometimes you hear these people. People are called professor, associate professor, doctor. Sometimes these are TAs, and I'm not making any reference to those at the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law, but overall. Because sometimes the problem we see here, they are not just, it's like these are symptoms of a bigger problem. I want you to think on this.
That is the premise of and you just took the word from my mouth. What we see happening at the law school, it's just a symptom of a poor education system. There is, people try to pin the law school like some extraordinary school that being holding up to high standard, and this one situation trying to spoil it. There are brilliant people coming out of the law school. I know that. Good, brilliant young people coming out of the law school. But the law school had not been the school that people, trying to present it to be. I mean, John Morban graduated from the law school, for heaven's sake. Joseph Professor Morban graduated from the law school, for heaven's sake, man. And several other people.
Edwin Snow.
Huh?
Edwin Snow graduated.
No, he didn't go to the law school.
No, he's not a lawyer.
He said he graduated from the law school.
I think he misspoke. I don't think he went to law school.
He did masters at the IDB and stuff. I don't know about the law school.
Even the vice president graduated from there too.
The vice president graduated from there, yes.
So let me say this. So John Morban graduated from the law school. Sagboli, the graduate from the law school. So, yeah, Representative Richard Sagboli. So the law school, the way people try to present, he's there to come to spoil our school. Honestly, that's not the case.
But I just want to check you there.
Kalando all graduated from there.
What's wrong with Sagboli graduating? Is it because of his name, or what are you considering?
No, the output of these people, their reasoning, their public reasoning, it doesn't present anything like a complete high school graduate. But then they're having a law degree.
Hold
on, Anthony, let him finish.
So people are not public speakers though, but they can be smart in classroom.
Oh no, listen to me. Public speaking oration is that what I was careful when I use my word. I said their reasoning. I did not say the fluency of the languages they use. I said their reasoning. Their public reasoning on issue.
You lawyer, you're not fluent. What took you there?
Right, and hold it now. You can't win a debate.
How can you debate? So
the lawyer, your English, you don't know subject and verb agreement.
Yeah, then you say you lawyer. So the point I'm sending across is what happening at the law school is just a symptom of a spoiled system that we need to fix.
Right. And how we fix it, that's another show. Let me go to Welle to have a final on this this changing of grades and everything else that's going on at the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law.
So I know most people are directing, the argument at the teachers, but I'm going to be speaking for the teachers. So some teachers, when they give, they have a system where everything is worth certain points that will add up before you make 100%. So if you cannot do your homework assignment, you can't do any group work, you can't go to class, and you think by even passing the exam is going to make you to pass the course, that's not going to happen. So if you are supposed to already have a first degree before going to a law school and you are performing poorly, don't expect any teacher to pass you. That's not going to happen. There are some people that graduated from the law school. I've had a chance to interact with one of them. Very, very poor reasoning. I can't imagine that this person is attorney at law in Liberia. And I really asked them, did you really go to law school? So, we're not going to put a blame on the teacher. If the person failed the course, they failed.
And Mrs. Momba, that's the problem, right? The teachers are saying you fail, but then the administration say you are graduating.
So the administration did very bad. That was a bad decision. That what cast a whole shadow, the dark shadow over the university and especially the law school. All right. So it just came to light. Who knows what been happening underground? Some of the people that are named tonight, maybe during that time, nobody said anything. All right. And they graduated. They are in society, performing very poorly. But we don't see that because their names did not come out. But we're not going to always blame teachers that they fail students. Nobody has the pleasure to fail people. But if you really did poorly, there's nothing the teacher can do. I went to school down here, university. Okay, so the system they give, you have to pass it. If you sometimes they give extra credit. If you know you didn't do good, go and do the extra credit. But if you're not doing anything like that, I think I base it. You tell the professor you base it because you're some minister somewhere or big people. And that time comes, you expect to pass. Some other people were only giving recommendation to go to the schools. They didn't go there on merit. So that's why they show, they are poor already. In their output is very poor. And that one was exhibited. So nobody's supposed to blame the teacher. Now it's a poor excuse for administration to say, well, they saw it on Facebook. Because the teacher tried to bring it to the attention of the administration, the UL administration, and they didn't take any action in time. So they vent their frustration on the social media. And now everybody is talking about it. What they should have done is what the organization is doing. All right. So I think they need to really, revisit their policies and make sure that everybody nothing was foreign in the teacher grading system. Nobody knew how much the test was worth. Maybe it was a point system she was using.
They said she put P, which means plagiarism, and that was foreign.
Oh yeah, when it is plagiarism, what do you expect her to do? She has to say at it.
She's co-teaching this course with the dean.
No, but plagiarism is not supposed to be graded. The person is supposed to be disciplined automatically.
No. She wouldn't indicate that it was plagiarism. Well, I don't think it was a grade that
crime. The person is going to be dismissed.
She was disqualifying the person, but she had to notate that. She had to put a notation.
Right. Yeah, but it's a fair grade. Once you discipline the person,
the person already failed. We're not going to blame the teacher that the person failed their own
plagiarism right there. As a grade, you can't use plagiarism as a grade.
I don't think she was giving grade. She was wouldn't put the notation.
What I mean, plagiarism.
You get zero.
You get zero. Yes, zero.
Plagiarism is an educational crime.
It's a zero.
You can be expelled by all of the above. Yeah. But you can't use it as a grade.
I don't think she was using it as a grade.
But you just mentioned that you put P.
Yeah, but putting P means that the person plagiarized, so you will know that.
No,
but it's not a grade.
Let me chime in.
Let me chime in. I'm not give any grade.
Let me chime in. Let me chime in quickly.
I want to take some calls here.
Let me chime in quickly. What she said was all the students plagiarize from each other. So on that basis, she failed all of them. So she just put a P there to say the person plagiarized.
They copy from each other. The one most people can do. They will not go to class, but they say, "What did you do?" And then they
So the
copy.
P was not a grade.
Copy all
Yeah,
your grades,
granted,
but
but
then
in the grading paper,
copying from each other is cheating. It's
he
not
wrote
plagiarism.
P
so they were
to
cheating.
indicate that they did that, and which was called is not a grading.
Yeah, it
Right,
wasn't
but-
a grade, but she
Yeah,
indicated what it did.
but copying from each other is cheating. It's not plagiarism.
But when you plagiarize in college, in university, when you plagiarize, they submit your need to the committee for investigation. They don't give you B grade. So what she should have done was all
P
those
is not a
But we
grade.
don't know whether P was a grade that she was giving. That's the thing.
Yeah, okay.
No,
I mean,
but that's what
we
the
don't
league
know.
says
You
she
can't-
gave
you
foreign
can't
grade. But
assume.
let me get in some calls. Let you hear their side too. Callers, Evans Morris, go ahead. You have 30 seconds, please.
Oh, Mark, go ahead. Audio now.
Evans, go ahead. You're live.
Oh,
Okay, thank
Evans
you.
Mark calling like CDC guy.
And hello to the panelists. I mean, it's disappointing when you hear people who have some educational qualification look down on other people because in their mind, their education is superior to that person's education because they know how to speak the English better or they can articulate themselves better than somebody. And, you know, when somebody go to school and they give them a certain rubric and they pass that rubric, you know, they got a degree, they have it. Not because they don't speak great English or they're not, you know, articulating themselves means that they're not quote unquote educated. So when people in Miami are trying to look down on somebody that's a bully or other people because they graduated from the law school and everybody in law school must not be tough because there's somebody of his intellect or his, you know, articulation can
No,
graduate.
he said reasoning, not articulation. He said reasoning.
Oh, reasoning, whatever he says. He's being elitist when he says things like that. It's disrespectful to those people. I'm sure that guy went to school and he studied hard and he passed. But with this whole issue with the drug problem, I'm glad Anthony brought up Kensington and other places around this country where there's a epidemic of drug users in this country. But in the same breath, he says because of lack of job opportunities, I want people using drugs. And like, bro, not true. A lot of job opportunities in the country, and people still use drugs. If you even take something like nicotine, cigarettes, for example, people get.
So what do you think is responsible for drug use in Liberia?
Thank you. Great follow-up question.
It's a social ill of our society, of every society. There are drug use.
Right. No. Forget society. I'm talking about Liberia. What do you think is responsible?
Thank you.
Well, why? That's the thing. What do you think? What do you think Liberia is some kind of utopia where everything will be perfect?
No, I'm not saying perfect. I said what is responsible for it.
What's responsible is the same thing that's responsible in other countries. People get frustrated with relationship. Trauma that happened in their life. People go through things in their life that they tend to substance dependency, and they start to depend on substance, you know, to either numb themselves.
You are saying what the same reason people use drugs all over the world or wherever there's a drug pandemic.
Right, and that's what I'm telling you. These are some of the myriads of reasons that people use drugs.
No.
Whether it's you know.
I want to also be specific about Liberia. What do you think is the reason?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Liberia is not a unicorn when it comes to, you know, drug use. It's a part of the global community. All right. The same thing that happening in Liberia happening in other countries.
All right, let me turn it up.
Politicize the drug use in the country.
So they are using drug because they are depressed.
Evans, you gotta let's be clear here because the reason I'm taking time with you is because I respect what you bring to the discussion. Specifically, if there is a problem, will you?
It's making me mad because
no, don't get mad.
Yeah, Martin said things on this platform that is not even substantiated. He comes here and accuses the government of being involved in the drug case, and you didn't push back on him one little bit. And you let him have a whole monologue and you don't say anything about him. And you guys sit there as facts and nobody push back on him. And what information does he have that the government was involved in that whole drug case? Let me prove it. Let me give the evidence. But he sit on the platform and make all these accusations. Why any proof behind here, Mr. Jai? You don't say anything to him. And then when people sit on here and say the government,
let me point to the proof. Why you on the phone? Let me point to the proof.
In this country, yeah.
Let me point to the proof.
The government lose a $100 million drug case
Thank you.
Well, you will have to respond later.
Thank you.
So you don't expect the government to pass draconian laws for drug users. We gotta be
But
fair with the government when it comes to this whole drug
should the
issue.
government take any responsibility? Should the government do anything?
We have competing priorities in our country.
Okay.
We have competing
So
priorities.
one of the
So the
priorities.
government should do nothing.
You guys are smart enough to understand that, and you should say those things. Don't obfuscate the truth of the matter. You know, we have competing priorities. The drug problem is important, but it's not at the top of the list. Of the
Exactly. Thank you. That's what I want to hear. The drug business is not a priority.
And not a priority,
No.
but Judge, you administrator. Thank you, Elvis.
Right. Thank
There are
you.
other ones that come before it.
Thank you.
Wow. Mr. Gabriel, how do you going to buy that one?
No, that's it. Let me go to Flomo Livingston. He said a drug.
Yeah, hello?
Go ahead, Flomo. You got 30 seconds.
Okay, all right, 30 seconds, I'm sorry. But, I mean, thank you guys, all the panelists and stuff. You know, I mean, I don't like this thing where some people call and try to be emotional about this drug. You know, this drug is bad. It should be a top priority for this government, so we are, all right? Not because it happened in other countries. They still are living the state has for implementation. Some people get president and they got to go there. They have the medication that they can take and they give certain amount of money to them. So the government has to start taking the drugs. They get president and they can help them. But Liberia has that. What is the government in Liberia doing to work about the drugs? You know, there should be a plan in place. But there's nothing. $100 million drugs. On the same drug, National Drug Day, there was $7 million worth of drugs burned in Maryland County. What is the government doing about it? People jump in and they into that emotion because they think they got them talking the truth. Look, the leadership, it comes with leadership. The president needs to address the nation for this because it's an epidemic. It can lead to other things.
Thank you, Flomo.
All right? So, let me just keep on the Gongloe. Councilor Gongloe, I mean, look, I have respect for Councilor Gongloe. He's one of the best lawyers I respect him. But look, he always started lying. He made a show his dad, his people did a female. He said it. And then he told me he took a mill. He told me the whole Republic of Liberia, you couldn't find the qualified female to run as a VP. All the guys, man, let's stop with the end of lying, man.
What is Flomo? What is the lie about that? If you say I'm going to pick up, if you say I'm going to pick male and you don't get female, you pick male. What's the lie?
Oh, you said my running mate will be, if I got this, then it's my running mate will be a female. And I tell you I want to be a male. I'm a liar.
No, that means you didn't find a female. You didn't find a female who met your criteria.
That's not true. The whole Republic
Well, what is law, man?
No, not qualified. As a president, you want certain criteria. So if you don't find that, you will say, "Oh, I just got to find female at all costs."
That's not true.
How do you know? Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from Jimmy Eastburn, our man from the nation's capital. Jimmy, you're live.
Wow, it's a great show. And I applaud Elvis for being so emotional about our decrying our country. But if he had heard Jeru a couple of years ago, how he was supporting the government, and today he has to admit there's not enough care given to matters of importance. And hence we see debilitation of our entire system. Just what you guys said. It says these things are symptoms of a greater problem. And the greater problem is nobody gives a damn. Okay? This law course thing, I understand it was an open book. Generally, all of you have done graduate work. It was an open book, and they simply copied what was out there. And we all know if you play, that's plagiarism. If you simply copy what you don't even try to paraphrase. It's word for word. They got computer software now that can find anything any form of plagiarism. And so they fail. If you think nothing comes from your own brain and you just simply put down what somebody else did, you fail. And what we are doing, we are putting people with degrees out there who do not qualify. It's not the paper. It's the knowledge. It's the skill. And we see that a lot in our country today. People don't have the skills. They don't have the knowledge. They're occupying positions, and you will not get anything out of them. So unless we change course, unless it becomes a national issue that we want the skill and the knowledge, not the paper, unless we take this seriously, we will have mediocrity perpetuated in our country, and that means we're not going anywhere.
Thank you, Julius.
So when it comes to the leadership for the next presidential, who do you think? I know Gongloe personally. We went to school together. That man is a man of integrity. Even I know a couple of other people. I know comics and all, but we can't continue with this mediocrity and people just flaunting the papers around here and don't have the quality and the skills required to represent it. That's my piece.
Thank you. Let's turn to Mr. Aliyu Kamara, the man who is a big fan of FOL. We agree on everything else except one. Mr. Aliyu, go ahead. You're live.
Let me just say thanks to the guys on the show, but a particular thank you to Mame. Mame is, I think Gongloe really needs him. He knows how to spell out the case for whoever he represents without offending others, and you must leave room for, like the way Mame does it is, even if I wasn't a loyal supporter of Joseph Bob, I probably would have called him and said, hey, share with me some of the information you have so I can join the team, to be one of Mr. Gongloe's pundits. But the rest of the other guys I see that just deliberately piss people off. I don't know how you win by pissing people off. But let me just say this, when something
Aliyu, we expect that from Aliyu. Aliyu can get under people's skin. But go ahead, Aliyu. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, when people have, we all try to heal our bad people, right? The drug issue in Liberia today is very, very rampant. But people will say, it was other alien government started. We saw people do drugs on the child of the government, but you could drive with your drop-top vehicle in down waterside, and you could drive around, go to Merritt. I don't know if you know Merritt. We used to have some kind of nightclub on 11th Street, or early 20s in Liberia. We used to go Merritt Holiday Inn Pub. We used to park our vehicles, and we used to walk the streets of downtown Monrovia under Charles Taylor. We used to walk the street downtown Monrovia under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. You cannot drive 7:30 p.m. with your vehicle drop top on the VA Junction. You cannot drive or you cannot walk in Panate coming from nightclub in the night and walk in Panate Estate without being assaulted and probably killed. So when people say, oh, it happened before, sometimes I don't get the argument. We all live here in America. If you were driving and you somehow violated the traffic rule and the policeman was not satisfied, he wants to test you for narcotics. If you found out that you were somehow high, you're in trouble. The possibility of you going for treatment is very high. So to say nobody can be forced to go for a treatment, these kinds of very, very lazy arguments. No, that's the reason, Dennis. Last year, I went to Ghana and spent a few days in Ghana. In Accra, Ghana, there are no zobos on the streets in Accra, Ghana, because police are deployed in specific areas that are announced to be, trouble zones. I was in Lomé, Togo this year, March this year. I spent 4 days in Lomé, Togo this year. There are no boys all over in the street with knives in their hands and threatening people. Now, when somebody says the government is complicit, it's a fact. Look at Central Street Police Depot. Where are the zobos on Central Street? Not there. They're immediately adjacent to the police depot. I think can you say that the government is not complicit? But But great show so far.
Thank you.
And I'm really enjoying the show. Let me tell you, something can be done. The ghettos can be destroyed. Police can stand their ground. We have to use a different method compared to what people think the Western method is. The Western method doesn't work for us because there are already systems in place. There are rules in place. There are laws in place. There are zones in place for these things. We don't have that. And therefore, we must go to the ghettos, break the damn things down, and anybody that comes in transigent, we put them in handcuffs and throw them in jail. When you do that, you will realize that portions of Monrovia will be safe. Then it's Day Junction, Bonnet Junction, New Georgia Junction, Railway, Central Street, all of these places, that corner, Happy Corner, everywhere is ghetto.
Thank you. What are you doing in Happy Corner?
Your city is not safe.
It will be happy.
Ali, what are you doing in Happy Corner? But thank you for your call. Let me bring you our last caller.
Those are historical sites.
Okay.
You know, we will walk down that downstairs and go down with the
byway. It's suspicious. It's suspicious. What are you doing in Happy Corner?
Thank you. Mr. G.S. Camo, let me you be our last caller, and if you can do it in 40 seconds, I will highly appreciate it.
Well, you went up on 10 seconds.
Okay, Dennis. Thank you so much, and thank you for the guys on the show. I would say on the drug scene, you know, you mentioned about Terminal Island. You want to put it on this, you want to compare it to this administration?
No. I said we had drug issues back then. They were not at this level, but people have been using drugs.
It was not even known. It was not known, Dennis. So don't even put it to this administration or to this time, because I was with the Baptist church. We got a church in Terminal Island. We used to go there and provide food and all the things. And we go in the community and preach to the people. It was not, you don't see people just pass there go check people things. You always used to see people check a thing from people and run in there.
Right. That's what, but you still making my point.
But now you got to look at the video you showed. You didn't even show all the video, because the one I saw, even a spoon show another one. You didn't show all. That's how people look. In the past, I lived in Liberia forever. I never saw drugs. I came in the country, I only see it on the show. You know, the guest showing it. I don't know why. Like, I hear people say it. We used to hear in Ralph, the complicated Ghana Airways came there, the complicated drugs and the brand or opium. But they were the things all in the street, in the community, even on your focus on Liberia interview. They interviewed that went to the parents Central Street, they interviewed the guy. And then Nigerian guy was saying that he came to a hospital in Liberia and he ended up with a drug, and the police people go there. They don't do anything about it. They don't want to get your real government, all of this thing there. I mean, the right thing, the people are saying, the people are complaining. They don't say anything. Joey has not made one statement. And things they think that the 100,000 or 140,000 drugs, you don't hear none of them say it. And then come to education. This is why when somebody educated, the other people are afraid to link you or they nail you down to Congo men because you're educated and you say you Congo men. Now they're bringing your power now to try to nail you. When I was small, I lived a couple of hours and I think I need to Robertson. My father went and took me from there. And then I came back to my Kemon name. So if you live with people, you want to get your education, and that's the only thing. Even in America, when you try to get a citizenship, they ask you want to carry a name or what name, because they know how things can be. You can change your name.
Thank you, Mr. Kemo.
The people should hold your power down as being Congo, because they're bringing all the political things. They're afraid now. Congo have made that selection.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Let's come to the Congo selection on no, because I just said the other day, if you watch the video when she wanted to begin somewhere in Grand Baza, she and Jeremiah Kum, she told the Baza people she was speaking Baza, maybe I was both way in catch it. She said, Gongloe asked her, I'm coming out to be his wife, and she said no. And Jeremiah, Gongloe asked her too, and she said no, because she want to be with Joseph Walker. It's not about her, it's about the country. So Gongloe tried his best. I saw too, but then I don't know what was going to be his reason for taking Youngly because they've been blaming her about decision and all kinds of things. So there are a lot of things in that country we need to look at and don't just be politicizing everything all because you for this person when the person does wrong.
Thank you.
Or do something you don't want to look at it. Just thank you for the show. The show was good and just keep it up. Mohammed, thank you. Even though I'm not a Gongloe man, but thank you so much for bringing the sense to our people. Our people, they reasoning. They're supposed to start from high school. They get free education. They're supposed to start from kindergarten or high school.
Thank you.
All the students before when they go to college, they'll be able to say, but somebody graduates from high school, they can't even write a full phrase.
Thank you. Not even said about phrase. But thank you, Mr. Kemo. All right. Gentlemen, time and lady, time is fast spent. Education in the country is no joke, right? I think you've seen one of our brother was saying, hey, you're putting the other people down, but somebody clearly a high school graduate who cannot perform, I don't think we should shy away from calling them out. Most of the time they put their speeches when they are graduating. We see their speeches.
Let me be the first since I have to run. Let me be the first since I have to run and make my statement.
You
already ran.
Yeah, no, I took it from there because he interrupted me because he got to run.
Yeah, you always got to run.
Yeah, he always got to run. You can't interrupt me when I'm talking something and you say you got to run. Keep running. But education is very serious, and we should call it out. We'll go around the room now and give our closing. And Jerry, you're not going to be the first. Miss Allison, Miss Wilson, your closing.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, I was a little bit disappointed for Elvis to think that drug issue in Liberia, drugs that are killing our kids, that are finishing up the next generation, for him to really say tonight that it's not a priority for government, I'm really disappointed. And on Gongloe issue, somebody said Gongloe lied because he said you're going to have a lady. Well, he tried his best. He asked Youngly, as people can attest. But she said no. Maybe he asked other women that were not prepared. So what do you want him to do? To go alone as the both president and VP candidates? It doesn't make any sense. Thank you very much for the show. It was great.
Thank you. Mr. Gay.
I want to say thank you. I was disappointed when I heard Irving try to compare the drug issue to Liberia circumstances. Most of the drug issue in this country is opioid related, meaning you have a pain and you have a surgery or have some illness. They try to use the painkiller to whatever, and people get addicted to it and start stealing that grandpa drug and they start selling it in the street. And most of the people, it's not the case with Liberia. Most of the problem we're facing in Liberia is joblessness, the government not implementing nothing, and no hope, and empty area. Yes, what we want to say here, education is, there's no shortcut to it. If you take shortcut, it will get caught up with you when you are out there to perform your work. I love this country. When you say you this, and that, in my field, you can't lie. I like my field because in my field, you can't lie. If you say you can do this, they put you in front of the computer and say, make the machine to talk. Make this one to happen. You can't fake it in my field. So if you've been faking things, don't come into the IT field. Don't come into the telecommunication because you make yourself shame, right? It has to work. If it can't work, if you say you can splice fiber, they'll give you the machine. Put the thing together and make a glass like a tiny hair tube to connect, and so that light can go through that tiny hair. Fiber is like a string of human hair. You got to be able to make it work. But let me say this. Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings is the best person for this role in Liberia and with his VP. That's the reason why Philadelphia is on fire right now, and people are trooping to the area. I got so many text messages. People were calling me for the address to the place. And why is that? The excitement is that they never worked in government, and many of these people with government experiences in Liberia have not made any difference to our country. They have not. We still have the same issue. We have educational issue. We have jobless issue. We have output issue. We see institutions that's supposed to be credible institutions that, the legal area or journalism today you find that all of those institutions are down because we don't have that structure. And so what is the difference they're going to bring? They're going to come in with a new structure, a new Liberia. Mr. Cummings took that bold step and said, listen, Ministry of Information, we don't need it. As a simple...
I disagree we need it, but let us
no,
leave
hold
it.
on. We don't need it as a specific article ministry by its own. We will bring it to the executive mansion and we will use it there, and we'll bring in ecotourism to replace Ministry of Information. Second thing here is that we will have a flat rate at the port of Liberia. So you don't have to go through the 23 bureaucracy in order to free one container. Another thing, we will have a special prosecutor appointed for the War and Economic Crimes Court. People should be held accountable for their action, and people should see government officials going to jail because they are not above the law. These are bold, strict plans, not hiding behind policy, telling you, listen, this is what I will do, right? And people got to understand that. This man work in the corporate world and understand job creation. Many Liberians today, that number one thing is to be able to put food on the table for the children, be able to buy the children slippers, be able to put the children in classroom. That staying with family member, what you go, your child, stay with family member, sometimes they don't even get the opportunity to go to school. They will have to do the dishes, clean the house. By the time it's time for them to go to school, they're even late to school. Many days they don't go to school. Many children also are victims of these things. So that every Liberian should have the opportunity. You will not be rich, but you will get paid on time. Another thing said, the first 6 months, all civil servants should be able to receive that salary on time. Before we can even start looking out there for money, civil servants should receive that salary on time. That's a standard will be set. That when you work for 2 hours, you receive that on time.
Thank you.
That's the Liberia that Mr. Cummings wants to present. A Liberia, every Liberian will have the opportunity to strive. You will not be rich, but you will have at least that opportunity to strive.
Thank you. Mr. Jero, you're closing.
Real quick, because you got to run. You got 1 minute.
You got to run.
Thank you for punishing me. I like that. Look, Anthony, honestly, I'm on the website here. I want you to show me where Mr. Cummings have drug as one of the pillars.
Nothing. These people don't have anything.
You don't have anything. I see here you have combating corruption, clean hands. You have building the 21st century. You have development of the agriculture, creating jobs, modernizing healthcare, expanding education, and then hearts and minds. There's nothing here about drugs. There's nothing there about war crime court. I don't know where you're getting it from. Is that your own thing you're talking? Or
Mr. Cummings said that you appoint a special prosecutor.
You are responding to Prince Johnson. So let him put it on your website, then we can all read it.
We will update that one. We will update it. That's the media people fault.
Oh, come on,
It's the media people fault. It's not the policy.
Okay, we get it.
So, Mr. Jerry, that's an old. Is that updated?
I will give you
Anthony, hold on now. Let Jerry complete.
Okay. The only presidential candidate here who has a 100-day plan with specific objective, a 10-point better Liberia, is Councillor Gongloe. No other candidate has it. No one. We are the only people that have a 10-point 100-day objective.
It's not policy. It's
not policy. I didn't say not policy.
Go ahead. I'm muting him.
Policy. Action plan.
Mr. Gay, hold on. Okay. Jerome, you finished? Let me go to Jerome.
Okay. All right. So the only person that has a 100-day action plan, I'm not talking about platform. If Councillor Gongloe want to write a platform, you will write it without thinking. The man is a lawyer. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 100-day action plan. The only candidate that has it is Councillor Gongloe. And the only candidate that have it in his 100-day plan to deal with drug addiction and drug and rehabilitation is Gongloe. No other candidate have it in their plan. No one. Show me and I will apologize. But I can show it to you. I can show it to you for our 10-point plan. Education is in our 10 point. Everything. How to deal with corruption, how to prosecute people 18 out of 10 points. Coming does not have it. So I don't know where you're coming from. So Councillor Gongloe is the panacea of good governance. The Liberian people will see that honesty, sincerity, and good governance will be in action. And we want you to hold us to our 100-day plan. And Councillor Gongloe is the only person who can do that. You ain't get nothing. He's the only person that say, I will do this. He the one say in his plan that he will make sure he will amend the constitution that the law that says that president after your term cannot be prosecuted. He's going to make sure he amended so president can be prosecuted. He's the only president who said who said that.
He cannot amend it by himself.
Thank you,
Mr.
Gamer.
You know that he cannot amend it by himself. Don't come fool us here.
Mr. Gamer, you're closing.
Any amendment to the constitution is hard to be
done. Referendum.
Mr. Gamer, you're closing.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't know we came here to defend our platform. I thought we came to talk about the issues that were listed, but they are talking about stuff. I think Mr. Gay said, come and say, here is our PAPD. We got our Bible here. So I don't have to go there. But let's look at the drug issue. Okay. Those of you who were old enough to have understood, I think BBC did a special on that the child soldiers were being drugged in Liberia. How the child Taylor regime brought drug into the country to drug these kids. And the kids will tell you, when they take the drug, it felt that they have bullet medicine. They could run toward bullet. Those were drugs that were imported against our children. Those children, those 10, 11, 12-year-old kids are now men and women in their 20s. And you wonder how we got drug into our system? We have to be real here. This is part of the war, the residue of the war. So it's deeper. It's a bigger problem than people want to address. Let me go to the law school. In 2000, there was a major case in Atlanta. There's a lawyer out of my own town here, Fort Pierce, Florida, Willie Garrett, that won a $1.2 billion lawsuit against Coca-Cola. It was a discrimination suit. They asked him, how did you do it? You went to some school called Shaw University and you are going against a Harvard law, Yale law, Princeton law, and you beat them. He said, when I go or when we go to present and go to court, we are not only representing our clients, I am representing myself and my institution from which I graduated. Just as the Harvard graduate is competing and professing the name of his institution, I'm defending my institution. So we are competing. Liberia does not have the competition. There's only one law school. Basically, it's not a law school, it's a fraternity. If you graduate from there, they got hierarchy. Like Vani Sharma used to say, oh, I'm a lawyer in this town. Take me to the Supreme Court. I'm like a fish. You're taking me to the river. I can't lose. This is the kind of idea we have. Now, when you have someone like Jerome Verder, they call him legal luminaries in Liberia, came here, went to Cornell and did a paperwork and graduated. And for, 3 times, he cannot pass the law exam in this country. What does that say about our legal luminaries in Liberia? My own former father-in-law, Justice Banks graduated from Yale Law School, couldn't pass the law exam here. So what does that say about our law school? We need.
What does that say about them, not law school?
No,
but all Liberians.
Listen to this. When people throw these things around as legal luminaries,
is it true that if people take the test and they pass?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to send this to say, where there is competition, there's always progress. If we had another law school where LU Law School and Bapulu Law School or this one law school, and these kids were going at each other, would say something. So real quick.
Thank you. You got 15 seconds.
Okay. Well, Gongloe we got to give him credit here, because the man went to several women, okay, and it just never worked out. So we can't say because he said he was going to pick a woman and he didn't pick a woman, mean he's a liar. No, he tried. Everybody knows that he tried. It just never worked out. So you gotta give credit where credit is due. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mama. You got the last word, and because now you have shorter time.
Yeah. So on the drugs issue, we maintain our position that the government is complicit, the government is involved, the government, high officials in the government are complicit, highly placed officials in the government are involved. They are using the situation to make money. The evidence, the circumstantial evidence we can point to, the diplomatic passport of our country that is authorized only by the president or with his instruction by the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the hands of drug peddlers arrested. The president commissioned investigation. It's more than 1 year. You cannot establish how those diplomatic passports landed in the hands of drug peddlers. That's one circumstantial evidence that top officials in the government are involved. Another circumstantial evidence, the 100 million drug case, the custom broker reported in quote unquote record that the company responsible to bring the drug were given special privilege on search, that you cannot search their container. Who gave the privilege? The government. That's another circumstantial evidence. Everything that has happened regarding drugs and the destruction of young people in the country, the case, the 100 million case, and how the government lost, the president of the republic have not expressed anger, have not expressed disappointment, have not expressed empathy for the destruction of the lives of young people on whose sweat and blood he became president and promised to transform. We are convinced that his silence, his lack of anger, his lack of empathy, his lack of enforcement of the investigation of people who, criminals and drug peddlers holding our passport, is because of his complicity. He's aware of those who are trading drugs. On Dr. Yuri, we maintain that Councillor Gongloe made the best choice. He was not looking for somebody whose name is all over. We're looking for somebody who meet that integrity principle and have the value to serve his country. Dr. Yuri has crisscrossed the country, working with indigenous people on land rights. They believe him, they trust him. Joseph Boakai was not a popular man when he delivered Lofa County to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 2005. What happened was they trickled his message. We will trickle Dr. Yuri Yakpawulo message to the people and only tell them, this is the land right man. The man who has stood with you to ensure the rights of women are protected. Land rights of women are protected. The man who worked with other people to ensure that the customary rights of indigenous people are protected. This is the land right man, and that is the reason why people across the country who are concerned about protecting their land will vote for him. Now that the law has been passed, you will have the authority to enforce it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you, for coming tonight and spending your Saturday with 1 minute to 11. We want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to our viewers. And we will end with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.